Now you've always been funny since I've known you, and obviously on the golf course. But did humor come naturally to you, or how did you become such a human comedian, I guess?
Well, my mother and father were the same way. They were always telling stories. I never forget stories that my father told us. I used to shake my head. When I became an adult, I asked him, I said, why do you do that, Dad? He said, well, I wanted you guys to have nice dreams, you know, stuff like that. But they were always happy. You know, sometimes the money cannot buy poverty, but money cannot buy the happiness of poor people. I think the poor people are happier than the rich ones. And my dad never made over $18 a week. We had 6 of us, and he never complained. Never, ever complained about nothing. He just worked. He brought the groceries home, and my mother cooked them, and we ate them, and that was it. 4 o'clock in the morning, he used to say, when the rooster starts singing, that's when you get up. And if you didn't shower yesterday, you're going to shower this morning. And it was cold water. It wasn't such a thing as hot water. So,
I remember you saying too, even though you grew up with maybe a little material stuff, they always had a positive environment, that they were always very positive people.
My mother and father were always positive. As a matter of fact, my father never made over $18 a week, and one day when I turned pro, I gave 6 lessons here, and I used to charge $3 a half hour. And I brought the $18 home. He said, where did you steal this, son? I said, Dad, I gave 6 lessons, like $3 a half hour. And he said, what? I said, yeah, I did it. And he believed me, you know, and I gave him the $18.
Now, a young person growing up today, you've obviously found happiness and fulfillment in life. What top 3 things would you tell a young person that's important in life?
I think that it's tougher to be a young person now, because I think TV can be very educational, but it can be very, very, you know, that First Amendment or whatever they call it, where you can show the kind of violence that they show, and they can get away with it. That's what disturbs the kid's mind, you know.
So come back to golf and your career in golf. Everybody loves Chi-Chi. Why do you think that is? Why do you think you connected with so many people around the world?
The American people are very, very good people, and they love an underdog. You know, don't forget, when I went on tour, I was 117 pounds. Here I am, you know, I was cleaning the barrels of the 105 Hauser in the Army. That's how skinny I was. And they see me playing a guy like George Bear, who was 6'7", and they see me driving the ball past him at times. They admire that. We always been a compassionate nation, you know, and they felt compassion for me.
And your antics or your demonstrations after you make a long putt, what was the source of that, and what triggered that?
They opened their heart for me, and I opened my golf for them. And I always felt like golf was show business, you know, and you're on stage and you give them a show. And you know, I used to put my hat over the hole after a birdie, because one time I was playing this kid 5 cents. I mean, that was a lot of money then. And I made a 20-foot putt, and there was a frog in the hole, toad, you know. And he hopped out, and there came my boy. He says, no good until he hit the bottom of the hole. And I said, he's right. So after that, I started rushing and putting my hat over the hole. Well, some of the pros, when I got on tour, complained to the commissioner, Joe Dye, who I think was a tremendous human being, that I was damaging the hole. These were has-beens that never were, you know. They were just envious. And Joe Dye called me to New York. He said, Chi-Chi, they're complaining about this. I'm not telling you to stop it, because I cannot tell you to stop it, but I'm asking you if you can come up with a new thing. I went back to my room, And I said, well, you know what? I was named after a bullfighter, Juan Antonio. He's a very famous bullfighter. I said, why don't I state that the hole is the bull and I've got the powder, which is the sword. I take the sword back out of the scabbard and I stab the bull. And then I dry the blood off and put it back in the scabbard. In real life, I wouldn't hurt a fly.
You just use the red flag to get rid of that bull.
And the Bob Hope used to say, don't hurt a fly unless it's open.
Now, your generation didn't have the opportunity to play on an Olympic golf team. I know Puerto Rico has their own Olympic team. Golf was last played in the Olympics in 1904 in St. Louis. It's coming back in Rio de Janeiro in the Summer Olympic Games in 2016. What would have meant for you to play golf for the Puerto Rican Olympic team?
Well, you know, they had golf at the Pan Am Games too, and the only time they had it, a Puerto Rican one. Well, the rest of Puerto Rico, a guy named Walter Cope, C-O-P-E. I know Mr. Cope had a C here. He was one terrific player. He was from Ohio. And as far as, you know, I never want to be number 2 or number 3 or number 4. When you play golf, you should play to win. And if you don't have a chance of winning, you shouldn't play. You should not compete.
I remember you shared a wonderful opportunity you had to spend some time with Mother Teresa.
Yeah, you know, I was in the Philippines sitting with President Marcos. We were having lunch. And he says to me, he says, the Pope and Mother Teresa are in town. Would you like to meet either one of them? And I said, well, we'll always have another Pope. No more Mother Teresa. I want to meet her. Because I always admired her and loved her. I loved her to pieces. And he arranged it at the airport when I was leaving and she was leaving to meet. And then that night, before the day after, I prayed. I prayed and I said, God, if she is an angel, I want you to show me. And I went in the airport and she stood up from her chair. She looks at you like this. And I shook her hand, and when I shook her hand, all my hair all over my body. I knew she was an angel. Let's sit down and talk. And man, all she talked about was compassion. And she says, I've been giving speeches all over the world, and what I do is I charge one can of food for everybody that comes in, then I give it to the poorest countries in the world, a can of food. She was the most amazing. I would give my life right now if I could bring her back. Because I don't fear death, I fear 3-footers.